Here are the basics of the tax-free savings account, or TFSA. Almost anyone can open a tax-free savings account. You just have to be 18 years of age or older and have a valid Canadian social insurance number. The reason it's called tax-free is because whatever money you put in the account is allowed to grow without being taxed. That's important because not paying tax allows your savings or investments to grow faster. Plus, you aren't taxed for making withdrawals from your TFSA either. What can be confusing is that the name tax-free savings account suggests that the money in a TFSA has to be placed in a savings account. But that's not the case. Money you put into a TFSA can be invested in all sorts of things, like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and GICs. Whatever you decide to hold inside your TFSA should be based on how long you plan to hold it there and your personal tolerance and capacity for risk. TFSAs are very flexible. Many Canadians are using them to save for retirement, many are using them for short-term savings, and many are using them for a combination of goals. You can have more than one tax-free savings account. In fact, there are no limits to how many TFSAs you can have, as long as between all of your TFSAs you don't go over your contribution limits. More on that in a minute. But practically speaking, people tend to use one account per goal. For example, a person may have one TFSA for short-term savings, which holds GICs or is set up as a savings account, while they may also hold another TFSA for a long-term goal, like retirement, which may hold stocks and mutual funds. Now, as I mentioned briefly, there are limits to how much you can contribute to your TFSAs. When they were first introduced in 2009, the annual contribution limit was $5,000. If you weren't able to contribute the maximum for any given year, any unused contribution room could be carried forward for you to use in later years. Also, if you made a withdrawal, you would gain contribution room for the following year in order to recontribute the money you withdrew. It's common today for people to have tens of thousands of dollars in contribution room. Annual contribution limits have increased since TFSAs were first introduced. From 2009 to 2012, the annual limit was $5,000. In 2013 and 2014, it increased to $5,500, and in 2015, it jumped to $10,000. So if you've never contributed to a TFSA, you could have a total of $41,000 in contribution room as of the end of 2015, plus whatever room is made available each following year. Those annual contribution limits come into effect each January 1st. The annual contribution limit is per person, not per account. So you can spread your contributions over as many accounts as you like, as long as you don't exceed your limit. If you do go over, you'll face a penalty tax. If you're not sure about how much contribution room you have, you can contact the Canada Revenue Agency to find out. As you can see, a tax-free savings account is very flexible. You can save for the short term, the medium term, or long term. You can hold lower risk investments like a high interest savings account, or longer term investments like stocks and mutual funds, which have more risk and the potential for higher returns. If you don't have a tax-free savings account, consider opening one today and setting up an automatic contribution to it. A little savings is better than no savings, so even if you're only able to put in $10 per week, establishing that savings habit today can be a great first step. When you're able, you can increase your contributions and take advantage of one of the most important savings and investing tools available to Canadians.